Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today I am going to share with you some of the craft projects that I've been making with my students based on holidays around the world. Now, it's not going to be a how to make the projects, but it's just to share the traditions. Students in my classroom will be listening to this video while they're actually working on the craft to make, so they can learn about other countries' traditions because they're just so beautiful. I really enjoyed researching and learning about all these cultures and their beautiful, beautiful holiday traditions. Have you ever wondered where the first Christmas trees came from? The first decorated trees were found in Germany, a country in Eastern Europe. These first trees were called paradise trees and were decorated outside with apples. In the 1400s, a man named Martin Luther was walking home one snowy winter, and he admired the sparkling snow crystals all over the trees. Then he had the idea to bring the decorated tree inside. There he placed candles on it to represent the sparkles of the snow. Other people started doing the same thing, and the tradition became well known. Later on in German history, there was a shortage of apples, as the saying goes, or the stories go. A local glassblower offered to make glass balls to replace the apples. Fruits, nuts, and carved little wooden figures were also eventually placed on the trees. And today, German glass-blown ornaments are popular world over. And the electric string lights are used instead of candles. But in some homes, you may still see the actual candles with flames. So that's where our first Christmas trees come from. And the word Tannenbaum means fir tree or Christmas tree. Glasglöckchen means glass balls. Lebkuchen is a gingerbread. These are some of the things that traditional German Christmas trees had on their trees. Apfel is the German word for apple. And every year, January 11th, is a big celebration in Germany. It's called German Apple Day. And apples are very popular. And most homeowners actually have apple trees growing in their backyards. And so that's probably why they originated with the apple idea, because apples were very plentiful. So they put them on the paradise trees. Another beautiful legend and story comes from Mexico, and it's the legend of the poinsettia. And this is a craft with an angel and a poinsettia, after the legend of a little girl named Pepita. Pepita had no gift to give the Christ child. And while she was walking to church one night, Pepita had picked a handful of weeds that she had found along the way. She thought she could give the weeds as a gift. Pepita still felt sad that she still had no gift. Then an angel appeared to Pepita, and the angel told Pepita that it is not the gift that you give, but it is the love behind the gift that matters. And she entered the church, and as she walked up to the altar, she bent down and laid the bouquet of weeds in front. Then it suddenly burst into blooms of bright red. The people in the church who had witnessed this, they believed it to be a Christmas miracle. And to this day, during the Christmas season, the poinsettia top leaves, they turn red. And this is known as the flowers of the Holy Night. Many families still to this day, throughout the world, display poinsettias in their homes at Christmas time as a reminder of this Christmas miracle. You may even have poinsettias in your home or see them in the stores as you are shopping. And this is the legend of La Bufina from Italy. And this is a story of a young girl who lived in a very, very poor village in Italy. It was a very small town. And she was outside one evening sweeping the sidewalk, and she encountered 3 men on their way to Bethlehem, following a star to bring gifts to the newborn baby. And La Bufina told them that she would have her gifts ready in the morning if she could wait for the gifts. And the 3 wise men said they're going to be staying in the village overnight, and that if she has the gifts brought to them by then, they will take them. And so La Bufina worked very hard all night, working on the gifts to give to the newborn baby. And then when she arrived at their hotel to go with them, they had already gone. So La Bufina decided to give the gifts to all the children in the village. And so that's the legend of La Bufina. And so each year, La Bufina would give the gifts to the children. And it continued on, and she did this until she grew very, very, very old. And that's why you will often see La Bufina with an older face and a little broom that she holds. So this is one of the other little legends. And this is a little craft that we make honoring La Bufina. In Sweden, they celebrate St. Lucia Day by having some parades and processions with young girls with crowns on their head and candles. And normally they have between 6 to 8 candles. And here on this little craft that we made, this is I only put 3 on for the craft. But this is in celebration of St. Lucia, which was a young girl. She was born in the year 284 and lived in Syracuse, which was part of the Roman Empire at the time. And back when she lived, she lived about 1700 years ago, but back then you had to believe in the same religion as the state or the Roman Empire. And so if you did not believe in that religion, you were punished. And St. Lucia was Christian, meaning she believed in Christ. And she had other people in her area that believed in Christ as well. She was from a wealthy family, and she decided at a very, very young age to give all of her money to the poor. And so she spent most of her life giving out and helping poor people. And she was helping the poor people. That's where the legend comes, that we wear the crown during their celebration with the candles, because she would wear the crown on her head and carry baskets of bread to the poor. Now, the poor Christians at that time, they were hiding in the tunnels under the city, because if they were caught as Christians, they would have been punished by the Romans. So she would help the people that were hiding during that time by feeding them and giving food to the poor. When she would go underground in the tunnels bringing the poor the food, the tunnels were dark back then because there was no electricity. She wore a crown with candles so that she could see her way in the dark tunnels. And so they celebrate her life and remember her, and she became one of the first Christian female martyrs. And here we have the Saint Nikolai, which is also called Sinterklaas in the Netherlands. And this is a Dutch holiday, and it's rooted in the 3rd century. And this was after the patron saint, Saint Nikolai. And he lived in the Patra region of Greece. And at the time, that is Greece at the time, but now it is Turkey. And he spent his whole life helping the poor, and he gave away a lot of his wealth. He was born wealthy, and he gave away a lot of his wealth to the poor children and poor families for their celebrations. The Sinterklaas, or Saint Nikolai, also they call him, He arrives in the Netherlands by boat, and his boat is filled with presents and chocolates for the children. And then he goes door to door, and he delivers the gifts. And he knocks on the door, and very quickly the children run to the door, but St. Nikolai is always gone. He gets very fast. But he does leave a present for every child. And in the present, on the name tag, it has the name of every child. And then on the name tag, there's also a little poem St. Nikolai writes about the children. And it's also it's a very funny poem about something the children did during that year. And so the children love to give these little poems. And as a tradition, if you live in Holland or Denmark, they also, when they give their gifts, everybody writes poems as well on the gifts to give. And the poems are just as fun and just as exciting as the gift themselves. So that's the tradition in order to remember St. Nikolai or Santa Claus. That's a tradition to remember his goodwill of giving gifts and giving things to the poor. And that concludes the holidays around the world. That's what I have done so far with my students. So I hope you enjoy this little history of other cultures. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And I want to thank all of my patrons who support this channel. And if you would like to find these activities, they're on my Teacher Pay Teacher page. And I also have some of these in my Patreon account as well. Happy holidays.